Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Arnie. You may know me as Burlap, and welcome back to my channel. So, this week's video is going to be a little different. I've talked about it on my streams a little bit, and I've asked you guys if you wanted to hear a little bit about like my personal journey with anxiety and what happened to me and how I overcame it, or well, more just like how I learned to live with it, kind of. So, yeah, my journey with anxiety was kind of brought on by a kind of traumatic event that happened in my life. In my freshman year of college, I overdosed on caffeine, and I didn't know that was a thing. So essentially, I took a pre-workout, and then I took 2 doses of it because I was supposed to take 1 dose and then ease into the actual 2 doses, which it was 2 pills, and you're supposed to take one for a month. And I said, nah, I ain't no bitch, and so I took both of them the first day. Um, and then right after I took a shot of cafecito, and then after that I drank an American coffee. So needless to say, there was a lot of caffeine in my body. I was like super jittery. I couldn't stop shaking. My heart felt like it was gonna beat out of my chest. It was terrible. It was the worst feeling ever. I thought I was gonna die. When I got to the hospital, I was put on 4-hour heart watch. They asked me to see, the pre-workout to know what was going on with my body. I was discharged, and I was fine. There was no aftercare for it or anything. It was just kind of not really what happened that shook me. It was just the way it happened and how I felt, and I had never felt like that before. Prior to the incident, I felt like I was invincible. I would do a bunch of crazy shit and never really worry about the consequences of it. I was a very carefree person. It was done the day after it happened, and I was fine physically after. But like mentally, it had taken a huge toll on me. My first week of college was terrible. I could not sit in class. I would always have to leave because I would have panic attacks, and they were brought on by me sitting there and focusing on my heart rate because I was so paranoid that I would feel what I felt when I had my caffeine overdose again. Long story short, slowly I stopped going to classes. I couldn't handle it, and I stopped going to classes. I stopped going to things with my friends, and slowly, over the course of 3 weeks, it got to the point where I couldn't even leave my house. I couldn't even, like, for the first few days, I couldn't even leave my room. And then for the next 3, I eventually left my room, and then I just couldn't leave my house. And I could not bring myself to step out of my house. I was just so concerned about what would happen to me, and if something would happen while no one was around and no one could help me if something did happen to me. I don't know. I was just, again, it was anxiety. It was something that was all in my head, and I felt like these things were very real. When I would have panic attacks, I would feel like they were very real. I at first thought something real was happening to me, like in my body, a medical condition, like physically. And it was all really not in my head, but it was brought on by the anxiety and by the worry, and it was brought on by that. And it wasn't like I couldn't breathe because I had a problem with my lungs or anything like that. It was because it was anxiety, and I had never dealt with that before. I didn't know. I was very uneducated on anxiety and on what could happen. I didn't know that your mind could bring you to feel these very real things. So yeah, I eventually my one of my family members got me to leave the house, tricked me actually into leaving the house, and um, when it happened, I was like, okay, this isn't so bad. Um, and eventually, I started trying to go back to classes. I forced myself to go back, and I would still I was it was hard at first. It was very hard. I would go to classes and I would still have like a panic attack, or I would have to sit there and force myself not to leave the room and tell myself this is just my anxiety, this is going to go away, it will go away, and sit there and, control your breathing. There's many different things you can do when you're having a panic attack. And I had to learn how to use these things to be able to function regularly again and not allow my anxiety to control me in situations. And basically, as time went on, slowly I started having less panic attacks, and eventually, as I kind of didn't force myself, but I kind of utilized tools that I didn't have before to live through those moments and not allow it to completely uproot my life, and where I had to like leave a friend function with friends or something because I was having a panic attack. Instead, I would just go to the bathroom and tough it out for about 5 minutes, and I would come out and I would be fine. But one thing I do know is if you have had panic attacks before, you know what it feels like. You know that you just want to get out. You just want to go. And if it's really severe, you feel like you're dying. And even if you know it's your anxiety, even if it's happened to you a million times before, the feeling is so scary that you cannot help but feel like you are dying. It is terrible. So you kind of have to, or at least for me, I kind of had to get used to the feeling and talk myself through those moments into kind of combating the toxic like inner dialogue that came with having anxiety. I had to kind of sit there and be like, look, Arnie, I know what you're feeling right now. I know it feels like the world is ending, but it's not. And it feels like it, but you don't have to listen to your feelings right now. Just know that your mind is in control of your feelings, and your feelings are not in control of your mind. And whatever you're feeling right now, it's temporary. It's going to go away. And every single time it went away. After a little while, it went away. And it was hard at first, but you eventually, as you get used to getting through the moments, they become fewer and farther in between, so it was tough at first, and it was something that I definitely had to learn how to get through. But here's the thing though, it never went away, and I feel like a lot of people who first start their struggle with anxiety or something like that really just want a quick fix and really want it to go away, and it might be kind of a heavy thing to accept that you will have to deal with this for a long time, and possibly forever. And for everyone it is different, but I still deal with anxiety. It's not as bad as it was, not nearly as bad as it was at first, because honestly I didn't really know what it was, and I would treat it like it was a serious medical issue every time it would happen to me, and it was happening to me at least once a day. It was really hard. But anyways, I digress. As time went on and as I used the tools that I needed to use to get through it, it got easier for me, and it started to affect me less because I gave it less power over my life. And that's kind of how you have to see it. It's not like you're getting rid of it, but more so that you're just taking control of it again, I went from being in a place where I couldn't even go outside because it was just overwhelming, and I really just, it was just scary, to now where I do stuff that would, before, when I felt invincible and stuff, still would give me anxiety. Before my incident and before I actually had a huge issue with anxiety, things that I thought were terrifying, I've gone on to do now, even after having basically had an issue with anxiety and having to live with it now. I've gone and I've gotten on a stage and I've performed a monologue for an acting program in front of big name actors and big name people in the industry, agents and producers. And it was the most terrifying thing ever, but I would not have been able to do that without the tools that I learned from my issue. I don't know what you're going through, and I don't know how your struggle with anxiety was, but I want to encourage you, because I've been in a place where I thought literally like my life was over, because of it, and I genuinely did not feel that I would ever be able to do the things that I wanted to do because of what I was dealing with and because of my anxiety. Um, and I want to encourage you, what you're feeling is temporary, and you will get through it. Help yourself. Have maintain a healthy inner dialogue with yourself. You just learn its ins and its outs. You learn how your anxiety talks to you or tricks you into thinking like it's the end of the world or like things are really bad or whatever, and you learn how to talk to it back and be like, no, I'm fine. I'm fine. Everything is fine. This is only gonna last 5 minutes, and later when I'm watching anime or I'm relaxing, I'm not gonna feel this, and I'm gonna get through it. Um, so yeah, that's just my personal journey. That's it's very specific to me. I know that not everyone's is the same, but I just wanted to make this video to talk about my story and what helped me and how I got through it, to encourage someone who may be in the same place I was when I first went through it, where I didn't know what to do. I meditate every night. I use an app called Headspace, and I meditate. I do not just their anxiety course, but I do a lot of their other courses. There's breathing techniques that I have looked up that have helped me out a lot, specifically when I am having a panic attack or when something is going on. I would say the biggest thing that made a difference for me was knowing how to influence my train of thought when I'm going through an issue like that, and knowing how to talk to myself. That's what I would say was the most important thing for me. I know this is a little different video. I wanted you guys to get to know a little bit about me, and again, I asked you guys if you wanted to hear about it, and some of you were interested in if I could get to like that one person that felt just like me when I first learned I had to deal with these things and these thoughts and this thing that is very broadly referred to as anxiety, then this will have been worth it. So I just wanted to encourage even one person out there. If you're new here, please like and subscribe. I would love that. And I hope I could help you in some way. I love you. I believe in you. I am encouraging you. You can do this. You got this. And you will get through this, okay? I got through it. Look at me now. It's gotten better for me. It gets better. I'm living proof, and I am testimony that it gets better. Ladies and gentlemen, I will see you in next week's video. Thank you.